Hola, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Humble Heart Hindsight. Thank you. Thank you for joining, where we just kind of take a glimpse at other people's experiences and stuff that's going on in my life and within the world, and just giving my humble heart perspective. Shout out to MTR. That's whose video we're watching right now. I haven't really gotten to see too much of it, but this is a snippet that I got to hear a little bit about, which is like pretty much relationships and their perspective and them sharing some information that's kind of going on in society with like people's dating relationships and like how a lot of women and men are kind of interacting, and I'm going to share my perspective along with their reviews on it as well. So let's go ahead and get into it.
And men deviate from what works at their own risk. So how exactly does this happen? I'm going to describe the moment when the man begins to cede frame to the woman so that you can recognize it and respond to it appropriately. I call this moment the beginning of the end, because failing to respond appropriately puts the relationship on a slippery slope toward dissolution, or worse, an expensive, unsatisfying marriage.
So many of that
Sounds so
going on.
familiar.
Would you say she has been instrumental in you and I redefining our relationship?
I would say don't just start filming me without asking me.
And I remember seeing that particular clip a lot on social media, and you know, whatever goes on in their relationship, that's their business. But when I did see that and I felt the discomfort in him as a partner, no matter what his gender was, it could have been a woman, but seeing it for him as a person, you know what I mean, no matter what his role was, I was like, dang, he clearly was uncomfortable. He clearly was caught off guard, and his partner, his spouse, clearly did not even care about his own privacy or well-being or respect. So yeah, so it's stuff like that we have to be mindful. And I believe this video is going to touch more on that, about respecting ourselves and respecting our partners.
I love going over content from people that are not only intelligent, but are actually accredited, because through hearing their thoughts, we get to learn from the things that they have learned. For today's conversation, we're going to dive back into the base doctor himself, Dr. Orion Taraban. Now, it's not the first time that we've gone over his content, but you guys absolutely loved the last breakdown. The last video, and I'll pop up somewhere on the screen right now, was about how women will attempt to control men. There was so many lessons.
This is so true in the aspect that, I mean, and I'm not saying women don't come after me talking about men trying to control women. I know that they do, but a vast majority of what I'm seeing lately, as far as like me working on myself and like, you know, aligning with a partner that I can love and love me back equally the same and respect, right, without diminishing ourselves. But I see the vast majority of females that have come in and out of my life recently, because I don't, like I said before in my previous videos, I don't have any female friends. And it's really hard to connect with female friends, because the more disciplined your life is, the lonelier it will become, because you begin to really work on yourself. Like I lead a very meditative life. I eat healthy. I speak healthy to myself. I speak healthy about other people. I open my heart to have a very neutral, very fair perspective, and a lot of people unfortunately don't live like that. I work a lot on my shadow aspects. I work a lot on my trauma, so a lot of females aren't doing that. And I've even had females tell me, oh, I can't hang out with you, you're too spiritual, like you really about that life. And I'm like, yeah. And these females are all like, they're working on themselves, they're loving themselves, but as soon as they hang out with me, I'm a mirror, because I'm unconditional love, I'm truth, I'm healing, you know. And so when you get around other people that speak that they are, but then you put two people in the room that are, you know, one really is and one isn't, then one is a mirror, because one is now an empty vessel of openness and vast potential and happiness and, you know, unconditional love and awareness. And the other person that states they are, if they're not, you know, unfortunately, they're very murky. The mirror is murky, and, you know, there's a lot of contradiction and That's what it is when I get around a lot of females. So that's, why I don't have a lot of females. I don't have any females right now, because a lot of the ones that you cross will tell you that they're working on themselves, but they're really not. And that's why I'm talking for females. So don't come after me about the males, because I'm not a male speaking on males right now. I'm a female speaking on my journey about other females, because I know a lot of you females start coming after me because you're triggered. But just listen, okay? So anyways, on my journey, that is what happens. And a lot of females that I encounter are unwell, because all of us are unwell unless we're practicing things not to be. And so that's what, these things are all about when I'm giving my perspective and sharing these things about my life journey and, my perspective on these other videos. So a lot of women that I'm encountering, they act like this to me, who is only a female who's looking to be a friend. And then I watch their relationships, as I encounter them, because if you see a person and they can't be trusted with their partner because they're cheating on them or lying to them. I see that so much in the world, where the women are lying to their partners and they're lying to themselves. And then I'll catch them in a lie or contradiction and I'll call them out. And then they'll be like, oh, no, that's not what I said. That's not what I did. And I'm like, that's clearly what you just said to me. And that's clearly what you just told him. But now you're saying something else. So now you're not only lying to him, you're lying to me, but now you're beginning to lie to yourself, because now you've been called out and you're still speaking those things as if they're your truth. And then that's how delusions start happening. And then these sorts of mental states and mindsets are now trying to be in control of relationships. And I see it all the time, because the women try to control the man to be like, you can't do this, you can't do that. And then they're out running the streets, talking to 15 different men, trying to see who they want. You know what I mean? Because they're not solid within. So therefore their energies are scattered everywhere, to Joe Blow down to Rusty Ho, down the street. And it's like, they don't have a solid foundation of who they are and what they stand for and what will make them happy, because they're always seeking for someone outside of themselves to make them happy, and then constantly blaming the man, when it's like, it's your reality, it's your life, you're the one attracting these men, and then you're trying to control them. And then when things get out of control, because chaos, lies and deceit and manipulation and chaos and like toxic ways, unhealthy ways, is not going to last long. There's no solid foundation. So nothing there is going to last and be solid and have endurance and endure anything for long periods of time, except for more chaos. You know what I mean? So of course it's all going to crumble down. And so when it does, they end up blaming the man, when it was like, you're the one that wanted to control this. You want to control people. You want to control your relationship. You want to control the household. There's no partnership. There's no union. There's no, what's the word I'm looking for? Cooperation. It's just an imbalance. And so therefore, the only thing that comes from imbalance is crumbling. Like, everything comes crumbling down. And so let's just hear more of what they've got to say.
Solutions that we teased out of that content. In fact, I'll leave a link to it down in the description box down below so you can consume it after today's discussion. Today, I found another piece of content from him that explores the power dynamics within relationships, and more specifically, how women slowly take over and destroy the very relationships that they claim that they want. A lot of life lessons, a lot of things to pull out of this. So let's just dive down up into it and get active. Without further ado,
I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is the beginning of...
Hey, would you like your very own Shopify store?
The
We're
beginning
literally
of the
completely free, by the
ad.
way.
No.
We are live streaming right
the beginning of the end. So I'm going to be talking today specifically to the men in the audience. Gentlemen, I'm going to help you prevent your relationships from going off the rails.
Finally.
Let's get
Someone
to
needs
Now, everybody is different, and every relationship is going to be unique to the individuals involved. But if you've been following my work, you know that in general, I believe that relationships are more successful and sustainable when the man is the captain and the adored, and when the woman is the passenger and the adorer. And I believe this because when the man is in this position, he maintains frame. Frame, in this context, is authority vested with power to dictate the terms and structure of the relationship, how it is arranged, how it unfolds, what it entails, who does what are the privileges and responsibilities of each, etc. When men control the frame, relationships have a much better chance of being mutually satisfying and enduring. And regardless of the mixed messages that they give men these days, the vast majority of women still want a guy that they can look up to.
Big true.
To be the confident leader that initiates and directs the relationship. However, in about 99% of the relationships that I've personally examined, the woman is more powerful than the man, which means that she controls the frame of the relationship.
Come on, happy wife, happy life. We've heard that a million times at this point. But let's be honest, the majority of women today are going against their biological imperative to be the leader in these relationships because it's been dictated to them that men are the problem, that men are dogs, that men are not smart, that through their patriarchal leadership, if they don't control it, they will be oppressed. And that also that there's no real differences between both men and women. When we know that even at a physiological level, that is just not true. Even when presented with the facts and the evidence, it is hard to convince them that all of those things are not true. So they in fact overcompensate to try to fix the problem. And they do so instead of respecting the natural balance or the natural order between both men and women, the masculine and the feminine. And in turn, they inevitably compete for men for the top spot, for the leader position.
Yeah.
And then wonder that when that fundamental order shifts, why attraction dies, leading to the end of relationship. What if you could copy the exact...
And that's so true because a lot of the females that I end up seeing in that dynamic, they're always like emasculating the men, being like, oh, he gay. Oh, he gay. Oh, now he's gay because you emasculating him, because you're lying to him and making him feel worthless, and you're playing these manipulative mind games on him, and you're doing all of these like crazy psychotic mind games, and then you come and blindside him, and then he's like trying to make everything right, kissing your butt and trying to cater to you, and now he's gay because now he's trying to, I guess, worship the ground. He's trying to idolize you, in other words, right? He's the adorer for you. So now he's weak because he's adoring you, and you're acting like the man, the masculine figure in the relationship. And so now he's weak, right? And I see this all the time. And then they're unhappy, and then they're like, I need someone stronger. I need a man. I need a real man. I'm like, who can be a man when you're the one acting like the man? So of course you're gonna attract nothing but men that you think are gay because you're really acting like a man. I get around a lot of these females and they really try to act like the man of the household and then still try to play the female. So it's like you're trying to play both parts. You want to be the man and the woman, and then you say you have to because he's not. Or is it because you're trying to control and manipulate everything and control things, and when it doesn't go your way, that's how you push them out, and then you move somebody else in. And so these ways have to change, or nothing's going to change. And I see it happening all the time from people that are 40 years old all the way up to 80 years old, and nothing is changing for them. They're still single, or they're still attracting very unhealthy relationships, or they're single and they can attract relationships because they won't open up to really see the unhealthy aspects of themselves and what they're attracting or what they're failing to attract because their ways are unhealthy and they choose not to see themselves.
System that I use to
properly. He folds things, but not how you like it. He buys something, but not the exact color you wanted. He helps, but you still feel annoyed. Then you say, I have to do everything around here. Do you? Or are you redoing everything because it's not up to your standard? Because those are two very different things. And I had to clock this in myself. If he does the thing and I still go back and change it, did he not help? Or did he just not do it my way.
Right.
Because those are not the same problem. And this is where we go wrong. We say we want help, but what we actually want is control over how everything is done. Because men don't think like us. They are more task focused, less detail obsessed, less emotionally attached to how something's done. And instead of accepting that difference, we criticize it and then wonder why men feel like nothing they do is enough. The difference between a man not showing up and a man showing up differently. And if you can't tell the difference, you'll turn a good man into a frustrating one.
Understanding the difference in leadership and how we both think about control, you're beginning to understand why it's the man that should be the adorned, while the woman should be the adorer.
Yeah.
And I think this has to do with why.
And for sure, I agree with that, because now that I'm like in a healthy state of mind and I can see these things transpiring in other people's relationships. So like when I speak to a man, like now, like someone, if I'm aligning with them, even though like right now I've been celibate for 6 years, but I'm in a healthy mind space, right? And I can see myself and I can see other people where they're unhealthy, because let's face it, a lot of people don't work on themselves. A lot of people don't love themselves. A lot of people aren't healthy. And that's why they can't attract healthy people and healthy relationships in their lives. They're always attracting unhealthy people that they call crazy, or that they don't ever get to spend any quality time with, or that they're running away because people are unhealthy and people refuse to admit it to themselves, right? And so they'll run people off, even friends. Like I try to connect with people on a friendship level, and I can't even do that with a lot of people because they're too clingy, or they're too needy, or they're too unhealthy, and I just don't want to be around them and their lifestyle and the way they live. And then so I spend a lot of alone time by myself, and then I am aligning with one person that seems to be healthy and on the track of very similar life path of meditating, eating healthy, speaking healthy, doing healthy things, isolating themselves. And I see that a lot. And so like I'm practicing this in the way of like nurturing myself, embodying, having my masculine and feminine energies within myself balanced, but also being an adorer as opposed to like an enforcer or a controller, and allowing him to be masculine and take the lead instead of trying to control things, right? And just living my life, being me, allowing myself, to work on me and focusing on myself. And my feminine energy is drawing him in, right? And it's a partner that, I'm saying I feel like I'm aligning more with, as opposed to like other people where they're not aligning with anybody and they're always suffocating or controlling or manipulating, or like just all these unhealthy ways. And it's like, first step is admitting you have a problem and then adjusting from there.
Despite the fact that I've looked at hundreds and hundreds of relationships,
Got a pile of clothes you never wear anymore?
Oh, all these ads.
Turn them into cash with Vinted. Snap a photo.
I can count the number of relationships that I would consider happy, like relationships that I personally would want to be in, on one hand.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that in every one of those relationships, the man was more powerful than the woman.
Come on.
So if relationships are more satisfying and enduring when the man retains frame for both the man and the woman, why is it the case that women so often control it? Now, there are two main ways that this occurs.
Okay.
In the first case, it happens right from the beginning. The man, who may not be a full-fledged captain, cedes control of the relationship to the woman as an enticement to enter into a relationship with him. In the book, I call this the sexual strategy of the ferry boat captain. This is how less attractive men beat out their intrasexual competition. They offer women privileges that their more attractive counterparts wouldn't. Ultimately, the frustration of not getting more of what they want from more attractive men, in combination with the gratification of getting more of what they want, at least in the short term, from less attractive men, can motivate women to enter into relationships with less attractive men.
Okay.
Where they can, more or less, dictate terms from the get-go.
Have more control.
Whether they're aware of
This guy's so good. But his detail would also explain why we often see these women in their roaring 20s, right? living life free, la vida loca, and her chariot. And then she gets off on later in life, all right? Smacks headfirst into that wall at 304 miles per hour.
It's true.
And inevitably settles for the type of man that she would never get caught dead with in her damn 20s. If she settles at all, because, you know, we go over the wall banger Hall of Famers that never want to settle or never want to lower their standards or expectations based off of the reality that they currently live in.
These men
Lowered expectations. I see that a lot with females where they're like, I was beautiful back in my day. Oh, I was a looker. Oh, I was so egotistical. Oh, I was so vain. I was so superficial. And I'll be looking at them like, you still that way.
understand that happy wife, happy life is the cost of doing business. However, this is not the only way that women come to control the frame of a relationship.
Okay.
In some cases, the man enters into the relationship as a full-fledged captain, invested with the legitimate authority such a position enjoys by the woman in question.
She breaks them down. Go
But
ahead.
over time,
Yep.
slowly and insidiously,
Like a
the balance of
Insidious.
power shifts so completely that the man no longer recognizes his own life.
like a lumberjack,
Can't
you heard?
quite remember how things turned out this way.
Chopping them down. Listen, and that's why I also say that men are the masculine men are the masters of physical combat, whereas women, and deeply feminine women, if you want to say toxic feminine, they are the masters of word wars, word battles. All right, and there's a lot of shit. I'll keep it funky, even within my own relationships, within my own life, where suddenly the environment that's created, you almost are in like a genjutsu of bullshit, where it's just like you're trying so hard to lead to the promised land, but they're trying to figure out every odd and end, and they have nothing to fall back on except for their own bullshit. So they'll take you to the ends of the earth with their bullshit because there's nothing else that they have to stand on. And then slowly but surely, you find yourself half the man that you were previously. Take note.
Most men control the frame at the beginning of the courtship process
Yeah.
and lose it through small concessions as the relationship progresses. Consider your first date with your girlfriend or wife. Chances are good that you approached her with a plan. I'd like to take you out. Let's meet at this time, at this place, on this day, and this is what I'd like the two of us to do. And that she agreed to that plan. You created an experience for her to enter into. That's frame. It's very unlikely that you would have been able to secure that opportunity without creating such an experience. And it's even less likely that she went through the trouble of creating an experience for you to enter into. So most relationships begin with the man in charge. And just so we say the quiet part out loud, that's why the woman's there. Women reward men who use frame to create an experience for them to enter into. They do not chase down men who don't or won't do this. This is important to keep in mind throughout the duration of the relationship, as men will be tempted to surrender frame in a variety of ways over time.
Stand on business.
This temptation occurs in two primary ways.
Okay.
Sometimes it's the temptation to escape an uncomfortable emotional situation created by the woman in a bid for more power and control. As I discussed in the Easter egg hunt, these bids typically follow the PSA system of emotional manipulation, or pity, shame, anger, PSA. No matter the particular thumbscrew, the woman applies emotional pressure on the man,
He's good.
who then cedes frame as a way of buying his way out of a difficult dynamic. As I discussed in the book, in its extreme manifestation, this takes the form of an attempted hijacking in which the woman threatens to leave or divorce if her demands are not met.
Oh, man. Hold on.
Ultimatum.
What he's talking about here, more colloquially, is subtle manipulation, right? And when I say manipulation, I'm not even saying this is like something that they're overtly doing from like a evil place, but it's just a response to control the situation, but hearing enough of it in order to satiate emotionally where she is at. A lot of guys will break their frame to conform. This is why the dating coaches always tell you, listen, you got to be prepared to leave at any given notice.
Yep.
If she's not behaving,
Yep.
well, you leave her from where you found her.
Yep.
If she's unwilling to stay on your program, if you are no longer the king of your kingdom, then you got to send her back to the streets of when she came. And if the respect is lost, oh, it's already been over. If you were to
It's
take
gonna
this
be
in
a war.
superhero terms, for example, this is Lois Lane wanting Superman.
To not be super, okay? You want Superman to be unsuper so she can be
You can
the
turn your
man.
newsletter into an actual business. You just need to stop using
Seriously,
5
you guys.
platforms to do what one
Superman and then domesticating him into a Clark Kent.
Exactly.
She belongs to the street. Percocets. Probably Percocets.
Yeah.
Percocets.
Hey,
Meanwhile, the viscous innards were appropriately wet for Superman, and Clark Kent kind of pisses her off. I think for most
it's not me.
masculine men, the issue is not setting frame, it's holding it throughout of a relationship. That's why it's also so important to not seclude yourself from your guy friends. Because if you seclude yourself enough without that masculine energy enough and you find yourself within a tender viddle, okay, it's much more easier for your walls to break down. Whereas when you with your guys, it's easy to snap up out of it because you're around masculine energy. But let's proceed.
However, the temptation to surrender frame doesn't always come from the outside. Many, if not most, men seduce themselves into doing so. However, this is only possible if the man becomes emotionally invested, which induces a distortion in his thinking, typically by activating his latent romanticism. This romanticism, in turn, either motivates him to sacrifice more and more of his life for his one and only,
Damn.
or tempts him into the ideal of equal partnership.
Oh,
This might sound surprising, but as I've
I know, and it's so sad to hear that because it is a beautiful thing when a man can, open up to do those things. But unfortunately, it is an act of diminishing himself in order to please a woman that might not necessarily be deserving it at that point because she's stepping on him and lying to him and abusing him, in some sort of mental or verbal and emotional capacity, because I see it all the time. Because a lot of these women are verbally and mentally abusive. And so that's why I don't talk to them, because they'll, compare and contrast with me and compete with me. And I'm like, bruh, I don't need to compete with you because I'm complete. I'm healing myself. I love myself. Nobody can be me. Nobody can be you. So therefore, we should never be competing. We should never share the same, our interests in men are totally different because you're at a different place in your life. I'm at a different place in my life. So the men that we're going to attract are completely different. So there's no reason why we should ever be competing for anything, for work, for home, for shelter, for men, for whatever it is, our goals in life, because we don't share the same thing, right? So, but when you stand solid in who you are and know who you are and love who you are, you never compete with anyone for anything. Not for attention, not to be better than, not nothing. And that's what a lot of these women do. They will beat me down. They'll talk down to me. They'll compare and contrast. And here's one of the elders right now doing it. This lady right here that calls me 24/7, she does this stuff to her partner. And she does it to me. She used to do it to me, which is why, you see that? I will not talk to her as much because she'll call me and she'll be, I'm more this than you. And I'm like, dang. And she like almost 70. And I'm like, dang, child. I'm 42. She's almost 70. She's approaching her 70s. She's like late 60s. And she's still like always competing with people, always thinking she's better than. But when you talk to her, she'll try to act like she's humble, but you get to know her and the way she speaks to you is like garbage. She speaks to me like garbage. And so I don't talk to her as much. I've given her less access. And then when I was in their home and I would see how she would talk to her partners, she talks to her partners worse than me. And I'm just like, you ain't never going to keep nobody around. And I've tried to tell her multiple times, and, I'll go longer periods without talking to her. And then when I talk to her again, I'm like, nobody's going to talk to me any sort of way. You know what I mean? Like, if people want to talk to me, they're going to respect me. They're going to respect themselves, or they're not going to talk to me. You know, so now she's tamed down her ego a little bit, and she definitely doesn't yell at me anymore because I don't deal with that. But all these other men, when they try to be equal and do that whole, like, you know, diminish themselves, it's with women like that. They try to do it with women like that, where these women are already stepping on them. So the more they do it, then they'll turn around and be like, you gay, he's homo, he's a gay man, he's DL. I'm like, you've done these things to him. You're emasculating him. You're stomping on him. You're lying to him. You're manipulating him. You're messing with his mind, his mental state. And her man is like already like 70 something, like over 70. And he's got heart issues. So he's got heart issues, like heart attack issues. So he already has enough stress on him. And then couple it with an unhealthy relationship at 60 and 70 years old. And you're just like, dang, man. And this is what's going on in people's relationships. They've already got health issues. They've got high stress levels. And then you put them in a household with unhealthy conditions, in an unhealthy relationship. And the dynamic all of a sudden is a lot more intense than it needs to be. And the only people that don't see it are the two parties that are involved. And it's really sad. And so that's why I step away from a lot of people, because I do see this in the world a lot.
Discussed previously, partnership is the most prevalent male romantic ideal in our culture today. This might sound appealing in the abstract, and many might disagree with their words, but most women don't want to be either pedestalized or partnered. Think back to what I said just a few moments ago about the early stages of courtship. The woman is there because the man created an experience for them to enter into. Most likely, the experience did not occur at her convenience, which is what would be necessary if being pedestalized was preferred, nor did it occur as the result of some collaborative process, which is what would be necessary if partnership were preferred. It occurred because the man invited the woman into an experience that he created using his power, autonomy, creativity, and resources. Women teach men that this works by responding positively to this structure. And men deviate from what works at their own risk. So how exactly does this happen? I'm going to describe the moment when the man begins to cede frame to the woman so that you can recognize it and respond to it appropriately. I call this moment the beginning of the end, because failing to respond appropriately puts the relationship on a slippery slope toward dissolution, or worse, an expensive, unsatisfying marriage. This occurs when A, the man is sufficiently emotionally invested, and B, the woman, directly or indirectly, wants something from the man that he authentically doesn't want to give.
If you're putting off selling your work because most platforms overcomplicate it,
anyways,
stop
and
scrolling.
that's when he loses control, and then she gains control.
It sounds so familiar.
Would you say she has been instrumental in you and I redefining our relationship?
I would say don't just start filming me without asking me
Oh my goodness.
if you could film me.
Stay or come help us again.
See, and then all she's doing, instead of realizing how uncomfortable and disrespectful she's being to her partner, she continues to cake on the disrespect, like, oh my goodness, Dr. So-and-so, come help us again. Why? You're not listening to your partner. So it's not going to matter if you go to a therapist. You're adding another party to your situation when clearly you're not listening to your partner. He's like, could you please not start filming me without my permission? Oh my gosh. So the fact that she's just being dismissive, so cold about it, you know what I mean? So uncaring, so unbothered that she's bothering her partner, like, that's not love. That's really not love.
Please. Would you say that she helped us heal the hurts that we caused between one another?
Get out, Will. Social media presence is my bread and butter. Get out, Will. So you can't just use.
See, he's still going back to, you're still crossing my boundaries. You're not listening to me. And then he further continues to state, social media is where I make my money. That's how I support the households. And you're still disrespecting me. And she still carried on to ask him the same question about the doctor. Like,
Me for social media and not Don't just start roll. I'm standing in my house.
Think about it. The most poppin' man in Hollywood at the time wanted nothing more to restart his family life. And he met a demon Sith Lord, in that being Jada Pinkett Smith, who never wanted to get married, but he sacrificed. He bent his will, no pun intended, in order to achieve happiness through her. Now stuck lifelong with a woman who A, didn't deserve it, and B, because he lost frame a long time ago, will never respect him.
Yes, and that's because she never wanted to get married. If you go back and watch a lot of her own interviews, this is not hearsay. These are things that Jada actually herself admitted on interviews, that she never really wanted to marry Will Smith. And then she's had videos of her and her daughter talking about how much she loved Tupac and this and that was her one true love or this and that. But she openly admitted on interviews that she did not want to marry Will Smith. And this is what that one doctor was talking about, when men will offer women these things as far as I'll diminish myself, I'll let you control the household, I'll give you more control over me in order to win them, because they're not somebody that they would have won otherwise. And now look what it's doing to him and the relationship.
Look at those poor, tortured eyes. Will, wipe them tears up.
The request could be big. Let's get married. Let's move in together. Or small. Let's go antiquing on Sunday. Let's go to brunch with all my couple friends. But in general, the requests start small and escalate over time. Now, if the man weren't emotionally invested, this wouldn't be a problem. He would just say no. Because, as I talk about in Women Are a Roll of the Dice, he isn't gambling with more than he can afford to lose.
The women who mess with him are the ones that then go off and say that he was a narcissist in the relationship.
Yes.
However,
that's so true.
Once he crosses a certain point, he comes to believe that he can no longer say no, even though he would like to, because he fears the consequences of doing so. He fears the discomfort that will arise in himself in seeing his woman angry or disappointed. He fears the pain that he would experience were she to leave him. Once that fear takes hold, which is the consequence of his overinvestment, he is no longer a free man, and he increasingly abandons his authenticity in favor of emotional defensiveness. He's trying to protect.
And the thing is, my opinion, I don't think it's a bad to overinvest. I just think it's not healthy to overinvest until you align with someone who's also overinvesting, because you can't pour into an empty cup from an empty cup. So unless that person is also coming with a full cup and they're overpouring into you because you're overpouring into them, then there's balance, right? Then I can say, yes, do that. But men and women out there, a lot of y'all are just overpouring into people's empty cups when your cups themselves are running low. So we have to keep those things in mind as well. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to overpour. You just stop overpouring into people that aren't coming with things in their cups already, because they have to know that they have value within their own lives. So they're also bringing value into your life, unless you're going to align with someone who's not there yet. And so they haven't found value in their life. So they're not bringing value because their cup is empty, because they don't know the worth that they carry. And so they're not going to be able to add any value into your life until they add it into their own life. And then, yes, don't pour into their cup. You can encourage them and you can send them unconditional love as a friend or a supportive aspect into their life, but don't pour into people's cup until they're pouring into themselves, because you're just going to drain yourself by encouraging them and doing this and doing that, and then them being unhealthy and needy and sick. They're going to require that from you all the time, and it's going to diminish your energy, and they're going to always seek attention, and they're always going to seek validation and I see it all the time. That's why all these people stay single, because they're always seeking validation, and when they can't get it from friends or a partner, they're going to get it from whoever they can get it from that crosses their paths. They're going to stop them every 5 seconds to try to talk to them and validate their life, to acknowledge me, talk to me. And it's very draining to do that. And until these people learn to love themselves and to find value in their own lives and nurture themselves, they're just gonna suffocate you otherwise.
Protect himself.
I understand perfectly what he's saying, but let me try to describe it in a different way that maybe he's not thinking of or referencing. Women can utilize a man's masculinity against him. What is it that I mean by that? Well, as a masculine man, you put forth or you prioritize provision as well as protection. Okay? So through shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right, a toxic feminine will utilize your need to be a provider and protector against you. You want to protect her from her feeling bad. Well, why are you not doing what I want or not doing what I ask? This is a manipulative way to control you. Why is he not buying me the things that I want? Why is he not doing these different things? Haven't I done enough for you? What's wrong with me? You don't love me anymore? And all that other bullshit. And you have to be very careful as a masculine man to not get taken advantage of to the extent that you no longer hold frame.
The issue, of
Don't fall weak for the
course, is that this doesn't work.
I'm $50 short this week. Apply for Atlas. If you don't get approved, they give you $50 just for trying. It takes
Doesn't work. That fear is a liar. It lies. It only takes like 10 seconds to see through the lie. Namely, if you actually needed to give a woman certain things that you don't authentically want to give in order to prevent her from leaving, then she would have left by now. You haven't given her those things in the past, and you've gotten this far. You've abided in your authenticity, and she was attracted to you because of it. So on some level, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, man. There is no evidence that not doing something you feel conflicted about will threaten the basis of the relationship, and a lot of evidence that doing what you authentically want to do will secure the levels of success and stability that you've enjoyed up until now. So that's how the fear lies. Just like the initial stages of courtship, it's generally a much better idea for men to maintain frame over the course of the relationship. This is what I'll do, this is what I won't do, and allowing the woman to either opt in or out as she so chooses. Of course, not getting what they want in the short term can be frustrating and disappointing to a woman. And that's okay. That's okay. She's entitled to her feelings. And you don't have to make her feel differently.
Yeah.
Let her feel how she's going to feel. It's not going to kill her.
No.
And it won't kill you to let her experience her emotions. She's an adult. She can handle her feelings. You
Hopefully.
do not need to make her feel better. And you do not need to give her what she wants just to avoid this experience. That said, there may always be a pull in men to do one or the other. However, I bring this up because it is so much easier to resist these emotional impulses when they first present themselves. As difficult as it may be, it is always better to fight these battles when they are still small.
It's such a great point to internalize. And oddly enough, this is a similar point that parents have to deal with children.
Yes.
Coincidence? I think not. But if we truly want to lead our women, all right, to the promised land and back, then as men, we need to discipline to put our foot down and stand on business when a boundary gets crossed. Because if you continue on kicking the nasty little can down the road and not addressing the issues, then the small won't stay small forever. Leadership is not just the masculine imperative to provide as well as to protect. It is correction. It is teaching. It is wisdom. It is setting and abiding by standards and having the backbone to enforce them over time before things get out of control. And even within the most good-natured women, good-spirited women, it impacts them as well. So you have to remain highly controlled within your frame, or even they can go rogue as well.
Because they will only get bigger and more difficult to win with reinforcement. We don't like to talk about it, but being in a position of power often means that you have to deny and reject others. Consider a professional relationship between an employer and an employee. Can you imagine a company in which the employees were allowed to dictate their own compensation packages? Since everyone pretty much believes they deserve more than they receive, it's very likely that that strategy would make that company insolvent very quickly.
Come on.
And then everyone would be out of a job, including the employer. Whether employees are aware of it or not, their continued employment often depends on their not getting what they want. Of course, this is a balance. Give people everything that they want, and you threaten the basis of the relationship. It becomes insolvent. However, give people too little of what they want, and they protest and leave. That said, while the second option is potentially inconvenient, it should be preferred to the first, as it doesn't also result in the destruction of the company. So it's better to err on the side of giving too little than too much. In general, the price of getting most of what you want is the willingness to forego getting everything that you want. Remember, a woman who sees you as her best option is not going to leave her when you tell her no. On the other hand, the more you tell her yes, that is, the more you give her what she wants, the more expensive and difficult the relationship will become for you.
True.
He had a major caveat in there, and that was that sees you as the best option. Jesus. I was talking to someone the other day about this, you know, now when I go out and like in Atlanta, the women really don't know who I am. The dudes know who I am, right? And being almost 6'3", and at least my mom thinks I'm handsome, has nothing to do, right? Like, because if I'm not providing to them in a dating culture where it seems that it just benefits short-term daters, carousel riders, monkey branch swinging, like in this day, it don't matter, right? Like, they don't see me as the best option, and I don't put forth kind of the other things and accolades, you know, besides my charisma, my wit, you know what I mean? The things that I can talk to or advise within a conversation, solutions that I can advise for. They don't know about all of this generally, right? Like, more often than not, right? So, but seeing you as a best option, meanwhile, Big Dick Harry over there, who is buying the things that you want, right? And in the short term, you see him as the best option, even if you're utilizing him. This breaks down the very concept of a mating and a dating strategy, one of which pedestalizers and simps and white knights come out of nowhere and just completely disrupt the market. And then you have a content engine behind, supplanted by mainstream media, that continues to push all of these bum-ass ideals as a part of what a real man is or what a real woman should expect and all this other BS. But anyway, let's finish up.
You don't need a POS to accept cards. Wait, so you just tap a card on your...
But anyway, let's finish up.
Catering to her desires, usually due to emotional overinvestment, increasingly transfers control of the frame to the woman, which often signals the beginning of the end of the relationship. However, this can be prevented by recognizing and tolerating your own fear and choosing not to surrender to its behavioral impulses. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And
shout out to this brother right here. I love going over his content. I'm gonna have to find some more content. But here's the thing, right? Like, because I just rounded out some of my thoughts as it refers to what he's speaking about, but then from the female perspective, right? Like, me talking about this kind of messing up of the dating marketplace, well, women have to be able to understand that the things that they are looking for, right, like whether it be in the short term or what have you, maybe they don't even know that it's in the short term, right? But you're getting put in a leader position, right? You're getting things bought for you when you actually don't deserve it, right? Some of these chicks are walking around here with stipends while actually trying to date real men in relationships. Meanwhile, you're going to compare the dude that's trying to stand up on business to the dude that's just giving you free shit. Your shit always going to be topsy-turvy. Your shit always going to be messed up because in fact is getting the short-term benefits out of you, and more than likely, specifically, your viscous damn innards, your time, attention, whatever it is that he's looking for. Meanwhile, you have real dudes over here that are demonstrating themselves well, but you don't see it as the best option because you're not receiving the short-term gratification that Big Dick Harry over there is providing for you. All right. Nevertheless, back to my G's. Leadership has never been about domination. All right. CEOs of these major organizations, they're not dominating the organization. All right. They have cabinet, they got directors, VPs, presidents that they're leveraging in order to make the best decision for the business. All right. Within there, they're going to have disagreements. All right. It's just a part of the game. But it's about setting boundaries, enforcing standards, enhancing clarity. And when you bring this down to relationship, it's choosing a teachable young woman that respects all of that. All right. So again, as what I always say on this platform, choose wisely, lead consistently, and remember on top of all of that is that it's so much easier to hold frame from the beginning than to rebuild it later on. And in fact, I'd argue that it's damn near impossible. Once you lose frame, ergo, you lost respect, and the respect is going to come off the time. Losing frame enough times, the respect is going to go out the window. And then when the respect is gone, you out of there, all right? Yeah. Shout out again to Dr. Orion Taraban. I'll leave this video down up in here. He's advertising a book as well. I might have to pick up his book because this brother, he knows a thing or two, and that says a lot because I avoid a lot of books within this space because I don't want to accidentally recite something that I've heard in a book and then I'm not like acknowledging them or what have you. But this brother seems like he knows a thing or two. Nevertheless, guys, drop me your questions, comments, concerns.
Okay, now to close it out for me, shout out to MTR. Thank you so much because I really do value and enjoy his perspective on his values in relationships and on men and women and their behaviors in our society. And so check his channel out. I like his videos. I also watch a lot of his content, and I'll be also sharing my hindsight perspective on it, my humble hindsight, my humble heart. But yeah, so thank you to MTR and thank you for anyone who has tuned in. But again, like, you know, just to touch base on what he was saying as far as like losing control, a lot of everyone out there just needs to be more aware of yourselves. You know what I mean? Like loving yourselves more and taking that time to work on yourself as opposed to just jumping in relationship to relationship, because things like this is why it happens, because you're not focusing on loving yourself. And then you're in these unhealthy states of being, so then you'll compromise your integrity. You'll compromise your self-worth. You'll compromise your control in order to give it to someone else, you know, just to be in a relationship because you're desperate, you know, and desperation is not a good place to be in a relationship. Like, it's just not the place you want to be when you're attracting someone, because you're going to attract another person that's just desperate. They're desperate for attention, or they're desperate for help, or they're desperate for someone taking care of them. And, you know, and then y'all end up in this very toxic, unhealthy, codependent relationship where you both are just like suffocating each other. You know what I mean? With toxicity. And it's just so unhealthy. I see it all the time in real life experiences. This is why I've been celibate for 6 years. I work on myself. I don't have any friends. I don't like to be around a lot of people because a lot of people have their own ideals and they're in their own unhealthy spaces. And I know I'm meant to connect with people, but I'm not necessarily meant to be here this lifetime to make friends, because I'm here to learn and have life experiences. So I know I'm meant to be in and out of people's lives, because so many people base their happiness off of friendships and relationships. And a lot of people are alone. They don't have any friends. And they don't have any relationship, you know, in their life with a partner, but they're in denial. And so I feel like my reality, my state of being, my life, my existence is supposed to help people burst those bubbles of delusions. Like, you don't have any friends, and that's why you're not attracting a partner, because if you had real friends, they tell you like, you need to change this, you need to change that, you need to see this about yourself, and then you'll attract a real partner. Because if you had real friends, you wouldn't be without a partner. You know what I mean? Because a person who can attract real love into their lives through friendship first can easily attract a partner, because it means you can hold healthy relationships. But unfortunately, a lot of people are in denial, and they're like, oh, I have friends. And I just be looking at them, but do you really? Because they really don't. And they'll be lying to themselves. And like, I'll know some of the people that they talk to, and these people talk very badly about them behind their backs. And I only have known them for a little bit, and I'm just like, okay, well, I met these people that you call your friends, and they don't talk very good about you. And you've known them way longer than me. So how is that? You know what I mean? How is it that you call these people your friends? You've known them for forever, and then I come and, you know what I mean? So there's a difference between people tolerating you and being polite to you and being nice because you're forcing them to talk to you, because you force your presence into people's lives. And a lot of people do that and then claim to have these friends, but you know, if you didn't reach out to them, you wouldn't really exist in their life. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people don't realize that. Like, you know, and some people just call and check on you because they feel badly for you. And that's the difference. And these men will, you know, be drawn to these women that feel pity for them or feel bad for them and try to attach to them like a moth to a flame and burn themselves, because it's like, these people don't really like you like that. They either just are being like that to be nice to you, but they really don't care for you. They really could care less about you. And you have to have more self-awareness and self-love for yourself, because that energy alone is very unattractive. When I see men that are like that and they just attach to any sort of woman and they don't care how that woman talks to them, they don't care if that woman doesn't really like them, but she's just being polite, that's a very desperate, unattractive energy. Because it's like, damn, you don't even see how foolish you look, you know what I mean, by claiming people to be your friends, or, you know, liking this person or liking that person because you're too busy chasing for attention, chasing to be validated, chasing to say you have a friend. And so people have to really begin to be more aware of yourselves and like how you really don't have friends. And that's why you don't have relationships, like romantic relationships in your life. And that's also why I'm taking my time to be aware of myself, to be the example, and just to kind of show, because I could be in a relationship if I wanted, but it would be toxic as hell because there are a lot of unhealthy people, and I'm aware of that. And so I work on myself very much so that I can align with a healthy person where we're both respecting each other's boundaries, and one is not trying to be more in control than the next, but we're both wanting to support and, you know, work on ourselves, and then come together to where we can work on ourselves together and build together from a solid foundation, right? And in balancing our own masculine and feminine energies within ourselves, the masculine can take the masculine role, and me as a female can take the feminine role, and not try to be more masculine than the male, you know what I mean? So it's like really balancing those energies within ourselves and our own mental state of being, because that which you attract into your life. So a lot of you, if you're attracting a lot of people that are trying to control you, crossing your boundaries, not respecting you, not what you want, then you have to really check in with yourself. What is it about you that's attracting that and not attracting that and who you desire? Because for me, even though I've been celibate, because I have been working on myself, I can say that I do attract a lot of attention, but I am healthy enough to realize that not all attention is good attention. So it actually is very overwhelming for me. So I spend a lot of alone time by myself, meditating, working on myself, loving myself. And in doing that, when I do go out, I do notice the caliber of men that I am now attracting. And like I said, I've aligned with one other person now who, you know, I talk to a lot, and we share a lot of commonalities with meditation, eating healthy, being of service to others, loving ourselves fully, speaking to ourselves very kindly, respecting ourselves and each other. And it's nice. It's nice to actually have somebody that you're in alignment with all those things. But then also I attract a lot of men too, where they don't understand no. And so it's like about understanding boundaries. So it's on both ends, because I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, I tell them no and they still come and chase me and they disrespect my boundaries. I don't want to talk and they still try to come talk to me, and I don't like that. So men, if you're out there doing that, if a woman says she doesn't want to talk, don't force her to talk, because that's probably your number one issue of why you're single, is if a woman tells you she doesn't want to talk and you're just disrespecting that and ignoring that, and you force yourself into her life to where you're forcing her to talk, or you feel like you have to talk to her every time you see her. it's very disrespectful for one, and two, it's not attractive quality or energy. So if you're attracting that energy from that person because you're trying to force her to talk to you, that's going to be in your energy field. So the next female that comes around, that energy from that encounter previously where a woman did not want to engage with you, but you're like asking her questions and forcing your presence and trying to force her and manipulate her to talk to you when she doesn't want to talk to you because you're ignoring her energy and her attitude towards you about talking, and you still try to force it, that's in your energy field. That's why I try to teach people about energy, because that's why I attract so much attention, because I'm just positive and I'm healthy and I'm, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need attention. I don't desire attention, so therefore it finds me. But other people who are desperate for attention, like, look at me, talk to me, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Like, that's a very desperate energy in your field. And so that repels a lot of people, because healthy people want someone who's focused on being healthy themselves. And so if you're too busy saying, hey, look at me, what are you doing? Hey, look at me, what are you doing? Every time you see somebody, that's a desperate energy, and it's going to repel healthy people. And you're going to carry that desperation energy in your field, and it's just going to keep pushing people away, because it's very, very, very unattractive to always feel like you have to speak to somebody every time you see them, to fill this void of silence, because you're not busy working on yourself. You're not focused on anything. You're not focused on taking care of yourself. You're not focused on being aware of yourself. You're not focused on leading a healthy lifestyle. You're needing attention. You're needing to speak every time. It's very suffocating. And I can't stress that enough. I be trying to tell the guy that I talk to now, and I'm getting closer with and getting to know, I'm like, you talk to these men, you really need to tell these men, because I'm out here trying to tell these men that are single how to be better. The ones that listen actually start dating women, or they attract women into their lives. But the ones that don't listen, it's like they're repelling more and more and more people. Like, people don't want to talk to them. And I'm like, see, you're not listening. And they're like, oh, I can't reach this person, or this person don't want to talk to me, or these people are yeah, because you're not listening. Like, if someone's telling you I don't want to talk and you're still trying to make them talk, that's going to reflect in all your other connections that you could have. Like, you're not listening to them. So why would anybody want to talk to you? You're not listening to them. So it's either you don't care, so then you really don't need to have no connections with nobody, because if you're talking to somebody and you're not listening, it's not a conversation, because you're not coherently comprehending what they're saying. So you're not respecting their boundaries. So you don't need any connections with anyone. Or two, you got a very sick mind. And, you know, because a lot of these people are very sick. They have a lot of sickness in their body, heart disease, diabetes, obesity. Like, they're very sick in the body, so they're sick in the mind. And I'll be trying to tell them, I don't know if you don't hear me, or if you don't care to hear me, or if you got infection in your mind like you got in your body. But whatever it is, you got to figure it out, because I'm having to repeat myself over and over and over and over again about my boundaries, about respecting me, about I don't like to talk to people. That's why I stay in my room, because I want to focus on my goals, on my work, on things that I enjoy. And I don't like to go out and encounter the world, because people that are unhealthy are very suffocating. They're very controlling, where they want to have it their way, and in their reality is very sick. And I don't like that. I don't like for people to come and suffocate me and try to control me and try to have me talk when I don't want to talk, because they're sick. And it's like, you can't even control your own reality and your own body and what you eat and what you do and how you speak and the people around you. And I don't want that around me. And so that's why I stay alone to myself a lot, and I try to just give the advice that I can when I can. If I feel compelled to talk to people, a lot of times I don't even feel compelled to talk to people, because they're too, like I said, it's too suffocating. Like, so many people be out here trying to control situations and other people and what happens, and it's like, control your own self, control your own emotions, right? Like, if you can't, it's a sense of childish, immature emotions when you can't control your emotions, to where you just can't sit still and be quiet, but you always need validation, or you always have to talk every time you see somebody. Like, you're you're desperate. It's like it's something that people have to see about themselves, because I see that so many times where I'll walk past somebody and it's like, I don't want to talk to you, but you'll still make me talk to you. And this happens so often with men, and they'll chase me. Like, I just dropped my phone the other day like this. I was running across the street trying to get away from this one person because this man was following me from one store to the next, and it was so creepy. And like, he would not take no for an answer. And it's like, guys, when a woman is telling you no, it doesn't mean be more persistent, try harder. When she says no, I don't want to talk, no means no. Like, you're never gonna get to even date or attract a woman if you can't respect a stranger telling you don't talk to me. I be thinking that all the time. I'm like, damn, no means no, I don't want to talk. Damn, fool. Shit. And then, you know what I mean? And like, I'll tell them like different things like, oh, I don't want to talk, I have a man, this and that, or whatever, just to get them to stop. And they'll still circle around a building. I have to run into a store. They'll still run after me. Like, it's very crazy out here. So I can relate to like what they're talking about, like with the women. But that is also on the other spectrum of unhealthy men, that if we are healthy out here, we are trying to protect our own mental state and well-being. And then there's like unhealthy men, just like there are unhealthy women. So it's like, just continue to work on yourselves and really find peace in being alone, because it's going to be necessary for that, because you will go through a lot of toads and a lot of witches as men and women if you just start staying out here jumping from person to person, because there's a lot of mental illness. There's a lot of physical illness, because sick mind equals sick body. So you'll see that. And the sicker their body, then the sicker their mind will be. So that's why I know I have to repeat a lot of things to people with sick bodies, because sick bodies means like, you know, cancer and infection in their bodies. So if they have an infection in their body, they have an infection in their mind. And like, so many people that are like that never focus on healing themselves first. The first things that they're focused on are friends and a relationship. And it's like, heal your sick ass body and your mind, you know? Like, why are you focused on suffocating somebody else? Like, you don't need to go into a friendship or relationship talking about, you know, like with your sickness, because don't nobody want to take care of you. Like, if you don't take care of yourself, nobody's going to want to be around you, because nobody wants to stop their life to continuously take care of somebody that they don't even know. Like, I don't even know you, but I do know you're sick. So I don't want to take care, you know what I mean? Like, if getting to know you means I'm gonna have to take care of you, I don't want to do it. Like, take care of yourself and focus on that first before you try to focus on talking to anybody else outside of yourself. And I think that's why I like to spend a lot of alone time by myself now, because so many people be so sick in the head, sick in the body, sick in the heart, that it's like, I don't even want to entertain them at this point, because it's just not worth it, because it brings me down off the escalator. You know what I mean? I'm going up this escalator of vitality and health, loving myself, respecting myself, creating healthy boundaries. And then it's like, I got to go back down the escalator if I encounter these other people that are not loving themselves, that are not taking care of themselves, that aren't aware of themselves, that are living in delusions. And it drops my frequency. And I don't like that, because then I'll feel sick if I hang around. If I sit around and talk to people like that for an hour or two, I feel sick. I get headaches, my body hurts, and then I've got to spend the next week recovering, healing myself, loving myself, fasting. Like, it really is very unhealthy, at least where I am on my journey of energy and, you know, like people's mental states and like what they consume through content or how they speak or how they live. And so I just like to spend a lot of alone time by myself. So that's why I be in seclusion trying to make content now, because I feel like it's my outlet to express myself, but also to share my perspective. Because when I try to befriend guys and be polite and share these perspectives, then they're like, oh, she's being nice to me. Oh, she's saying nice things to me. I can get with her. And it's like, no, I'm telling you these things so you can get your own friends. I'm telling you these things so you can change and see yourself, so you can attract a girlfriend into your life. I'm not saying these things for you to suffocate me. I'm not saying these things for you to be like, oh, I can get with her. I'm gonna try harder. She's being nice to me. She sees all these good things in me. So it's like, this is why it's hard to be polite to strangers, to especially men. As a woman, it's hard to be polite to men, because as soon as you're polite to them, they look at it like, oh, I can talk to her more. No, just because a woman is polite to you does not give you access to her. There's still boundaries. And if you don't know that, then that's the very reason why you're single. Because just because a woman comes into your life and tries to give you free sauce on how to be a better man or to take care of yourself and do all these things is really to help you be better, for you to attract more in your life. It's not because they're meant for you, right? Because if that person's healthy and that person's doing healthy things, that person, you know what I mean, is clearly showing no romantic interest in you. That's not your person. So that doesn't mean try harder, men. That means take the advice and do what it with you will, so that you can reap some benefits and have some results in your life. Because whoever is truly meant for you, you will feel a romantic draw to them. They'll want to be there for your transition and your, you know what I mean, for your health and for your lifestyle. And if that person isn't doing that and they're just coming and being like, yeah, you could do this and this and this every so often, that means they're just trying to be helpful in your life. So know the difference when a woman comes in. And, you know, because that's the thing with desperation, I guess, is you're just so desperate for attention and for someone to notice you, that someone that is nice to you, you take it the wrong way, and then you start creating delusions and trying to act like she's your girlfriend or wanting her to be your girlfriend. And that's not a good thing to do. That's not healthy. And that's why immediately my energy will shift with some men, to where if I was polite and I start getting that energy and attention from them, I'll start being really rude and really short with them, because I'm like, you need to respect my boundaries. You need to get away. Like, I don't want to talk to you, you know, because being nice to people is now being misunderstood for like, talk to me all the time. And I don't like that. Like, just because I'm nice to you and I'm being genuinely nice to you and I'm trying to be polite to you does not mean I want to talk to you 24/7. So if you see me and you're not reading my energy, that's another reason why I don't want to talk to people, because you're not respecting boundaries. You know, like if somebody's like, you're like, hey, how are you? And they're like, hey, that means they don't want to talk to you. If someone is usually engaging in like, hola, what's up, da 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 da, that's an engaging energy. But if you're like, hey, because you're wanting attention, and they're like, what's up, that means they don't want to talk to you. But if they talk to someone else and they're like, hola, and they're like, hola, that means they're open to talk to other people. But if you get the what's up sign or hey, that means they don't want to talk to you. And you guys have to really learn to read energy, because that's why a lot of you are single, because you don't learn energy. And I be trying to teach people this, but you know, you can lead a person to water, but you can't make them drink. And I'm only in people's lives temporarily. That's why I say I know I'm not meant to have friends this lifetime, because I'm meant to help pop the bubble of delusions in a lot of people's sick heads and what they think they believe to what reality really is. Because a lot of you, like I said, claim to have friends, but then I'll go and work in these environments where they claim to have these friends, and these very people that they've known for 10 years or so and call their friends will open up to me one-on-one and talk about how disgusting or how much they, you know, find this person repulsive, but they talk to them to be polite. And I'm like, damn. You know, like, because of my energy is very inviting. And that's why I try to teach people this, because people come to me, they're attracted to me, they open up to me, they want to be friends with me, they want healing from me, they want guidance from me, they want my energy, they want whatever, you know what I mean? They connect with me, so they're open and honest with me, more so than they're honest with some people that they talk to. And that's just what it is. And so they'll tell me how they feel about somebody, and I'll be like, damn, that's not the perspective they have of this connection. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. People live in delusions. They like to think their connections with people are more than they are. And I get pulled to be in people's lives as a sage, as an energy healer or whisperer, in order to help people see themselves more, be more honest with themselves, so that they can begin to have like some sort of change or progress within their lives before I transition out of their lives. Because that's what it takes. It's first admitting you have a problem. If you don't admit that to yourself, then nothing else matters, you know? All right, ciao for now. Peace and love.